So I've been sort of watching your van build that you're doing in the meantime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we've been doing 2 van builds. We've been doing the van build for Jade, our daughter. She's been looking for a van since January.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been wanting to build a little van. We've had our van for, I think, about a good few years now. Yeah, we haven't done as much traveling in it as we hoped, but we've done a little bit. But it kind of, our daughter decided that she quite fancied the same, and she's training to be a photographer as well. So idea, so for her, the idea is to, obviously it makes sense, doesn't it? Get a van and go out and travel. And by doing it, by upgrading her van, it just inspired me, not so much.
Just give us some more work.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really impressed with your van building skills there. It's like, I'm just trying to get to use a saw, and it's like you just like it's that fast.
Well, it was a bit of a struggle because obviously the last time we went out to Portugal, we took the majority of our power tools with us.
Oh no.
We actually have done all of the upgrade to our current van and built Jade's van with
just
a couple of hand saws, some tiny weeny little clamps, and one electric drill that we only left here because it's really rubbish and doesn't work very well.
Oh, no. Well, you've done an amazing job. I mean, I've bought these new tools and I can't even get them to work like you managing to get your old drill and that working. So I'm really impressed.
Thank
and
you.
so what made you decide on Portugal, like out of all, and not Spain? Because a lot of the people from the UK go to Spain. So what made you decide on Portugal?
Do you want to say for you?
I think I don't honestly remember. It was a whirlwind, quite honestly, Cindy, for me. It was, I can't quite remember what the moment was or why it was Portugal, but we haven't traveled extensively, well, at all. We've hardly traveled at all. So there wasn't really a lot of places that we'd seen or had chosen or anything like that. I think we noticed, I suppose, well, for me, I noticed YouTube videos around 3 or 4 years ago. I've discovered YouTube maybe about 3 or 4 years ago properly. I started watching videos of people moving out to Portugal, and I just was kind of interested in why that was the case. And so I had a look on the map, found out about central Portugal and how it fitted in, and it was really as simple as that. We booked a holiday, didn't we? It was was that with our first van? Was that with our white van, or did we just? No, we just hired cars, didn't we? Yeah. We hired some cars and we just flew out to Porto, and we literally we had a few pieces of land set up to view. We'd spoken to the estate agent at Remax was who we'd spoke to, Paolo, etc. And they took us into a couple of places. They took us into like a few places in central Portugal. So it was and on the second day, we'd seen about, I don't know, 10 properties, hadn't we, over a space of a couple of days. And we kind of knew what we wanted. So I say, all we were looking for really was, our idea was to travel. We just wanted to travel in the van. We built this van. The blue one we've got now is the smaller one, but we had quite a big van. And our idea was just to literally travel around Europe. That was it.
And we wanted a base, didn't we? That's why we were looking at just a piece of land. Didn't have to have any ruins or houses or anything on, just literally a piece of land, where we could just go back to and just chill out for a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever. And so it would be our base.
Just a base, absolutely. Yeah. That was all it started as, was just a place to park the van.
And then it grew from there.
Absolutely right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think what really inspired us though was a lady that made a TV programme, Julia Bradbury. So she's British, and she made a TV program looking to see if you could find a holiday home in Europe for under £10,000. So she found a place just near Garda, which is obviously central Portugal. And she bought it and then renovated it for less than £10,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was like a I don't know, I think it had been a village bakery or the village, some kind of village shop. And it had fallen into disrepair, but the property next to it was in decent condition. So she did it all up, and it was tiny, but basically served the needs of like a holiday accommodation. And I think that with us like really struck, wow, we don't have a lot of money, but if she can go out there and she can put a bit of hard work in, then perhaps we can just find that bit of land that we want for our van. Even cheaper than that. So that was really our initial goal.
That was the initial goal. It was as simple as find a piece of land to put our van on. And then it was kind of like, but now we've seen that there's a nice little house. It kind of snowballed, honestly. It really just snowballed, and it snowballed over a couple of years. But then, even though in our minds it was snowballing, it still took a while to sort of get. We've had our little piece of land a couple of years now, I think, haven't we?
Yeah, four.
Is it really 4 years?
Oh, wow, 4 years already.
That's how quickly it's flown, isn't it, really? Yeah, it has been a while. We've had the house just under a year, though, haven't we?
Oh, yes. We just bought that last year in lockdown, so that's not a year yet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
but
we did.
The piece of land, well, I still had my business. I was still working, which was one of the reasons that we couldn't go out very often. Because when you're self-employed, you work like all the hours that there are. And it was always going to be a future thing. It was always something that we sort of bought now and put aside for the future. And that's sort of how it...
So are you planning on moving there permanently, or are you always going to just flit between the UK and Portugal?
I would love to move there permanently, and I've made that leap, that change. I know for the next year or two at least that it's not going to be something that we can be very concrete on, because we still have our youngest lives at home, and he's only just 18, so there's no way that I could just go and leave until he's organised and settled. But we've put lots of other things in place that will allow us to make the move, haven't we? To do that. So.
I feel that we do. We do want to be permanent in Portugal. Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably not. We're not quite sure when that will happen. We kind of have an idea of a year, possibly. We might be able to fit
2 years. Yeah.
So the idea is, I mean, that's a whole part of the bigger story. That's a whole part of this house, and where we sold our old house and bought this much smaller house that we're living in now, was to ease ourselves up. We had quite a convoluted story, I suppose, as well, but we had a reasonably sized house. It was like a 4-bedroom house. But it was only small. It wasn't like grand. It sounds quite grand if you say it's a 4. It wasn't. It was really, but we looked at, it was modest, but we looked at the mortgage payment and we thought, we have £40,000 owed on the mortgage, and we're here for another 4 years. Will we, if we stay here and pay that mortgage for 4 years, that £40,000, will we be able to, at the end of that, take that £40,000 back out again
and make any more?
Or make any more. And the idea was, no, we wouldn't. We would never get that £40,000 back. So we may as well sell the house now, downsize now, make our lives a little bit easier. It enabled Elaine, therefore, to give up her work, give up her job, because we didn't have this big mortgage payment going every month. And that got us thinking more seriously then about Portugal permanently, because then we can know we've got this little house. We don't see this house as a long-term thing at all. And in fact, I'm trying to get out of here quite quickly. So we are trying to get to Portugal quite quickly, but we do have ties here. So but this house is not. It's not a house in our hearts, is it? This is just.
It's not. No, it's just.
No.
So Portugal is where we kind of want to be. Elaine's, as Elaine said earlier, Elaine's done the jump mentally. She wants to live in Portugal. I know I don't want to be here. And I love where we've got our little piece of land and our little house. So yeah, it's just that mental jump to say, yes, I want to be there permanently.
Yeah.
Really.
And once you make that mental jump, it's all you can think about. I tell you, it's driving me crazy at the moment, because I was supposed to have gone, we had like a winter break for a week, the end of February, and then I couldn't travel then. And so then I should have gone the end of March, and for Easter last week, couldn't travel again. And it's just, I'm like itching. But anyway, my contract finishes here in June, so I've got to go down anyway. So I'm going to be like a little bit like the van lifers, but without living in the van. Driving my van down in June.
Do you think travel within Europe will be easy or much more easy?
I don't know. It's like, what I'm worrying about is what happens if, like, I've got to go through Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Spain to get to Germany at that end. Hopefully, I'm not going to have to quarantine. What happens if they want me to quarantine in each one? So I don't know. But I'll just be sort of like transiting. So
and I think if you've got, that's why we think like a van is so beneficial, because you are quarantining as you drive along. You put all your water in, you put all your food in, and you just keep going. And if you stop, then you stop somewhere away from people. And I think that's the benefit that our daughter Jade has seen as well. That's why she wants a little home on wheels kind of thing to enable her to get out and do stuff.
Exciting. But what I am worrying about, and I don't know if you guys have the same kind of concern, is like, I'm going to be going from having like the stable monthly income to going into like semi-retirement, and I only qualify for getting my pension in like 2 years' time. So I'm sort of stressing, like, how am I going to, do all these renovations I want to do, and then if I use the money that I've saved for that, then what am I going to use to live on? It is, I mean, I can give extra, well, I do some online work and stuff like that, but it's not the same as getting your monthly check every month. It
is. It's really scary, because when I sold my business, then it all happened so quickly. We sort of, I knew I didn't want to do the hours I was doing when I had it. And so we literally just sort of said, well, Darren said, "You're exhausted. Look, I've had this advert," and he lifted his phone up and he said, "I've had this advert on my phone. Why don't we just pop it out there? It's just a free advert, and see if anything comes of it." And that was on the Sunday night, when you've got the Sunday night dread and you're getting yourself ready to go back and do another full 6 days or whatever. And I just went, okay then.
It was literally.
And by the Thursday, the shop was sold and everything was, I was still there for a while until the paperwork went through, but literally in less than 4 days it was all done and it was sold.
Well, it was meant to be. The universe has spoken.
Absolutely, yes.
But again, that sounds quite grand, doesn't it? I've sold my business, and it honestly wasn't that grand.
It was a small coffee shop, and all that meant was we had enough money, so I didn't have to work, and we had enough money to live on for a year. For about a year. And that was literally it. It's not like a big mega.
So what are you going to do when you retire there? Are you going to then live on your UK pension, or will you not get the pension yet? Or are you trying to develop some online streams? I see you've got your YouTube channel. So I mean, that is a little bit. I mean, that's like bread and milk money. And I see you started with some merch as well now. You've got
it was
coffee mugs.
That's right. We got a coffee mug. That's just just got one at the moment. Yeah, that's right. It's just a little tester, just to see how the quality looks. Actually, it's really nice. We're quite pleased with the quality. So we thought we might put it out there, put a few there. I think it's just going to look nice in the van, quite honestly. So it was just me messing around on the computer. But yeah, from a money perspective, Elaine worked for BT for a lot of years beforehand, British Telecom. So Elaine's got a little pension coming in. The little private pension, that little private pension would not serve us very well in the UK.
Yeah, it doesn't go very far.
It doesn't go very far at all. But in Portugal, it would make a little bit more of a difference. You'd be able to, you could probably get your food, for a month.
More than bread and milk.
A little bit more. So we have that as a nice regular, although small, regular income at least. But I do have those little panics. The same as what you were saying a little earlier there, Cindy, about that kind of income stream. And for a while, when I gave up my job about a year ago, I think it was. It was just on the pandemic time when I was no longer working. Not having that regular income stream is quite a little panic. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
But we still have there is. So I think I don't know what I'm trying to say. So I think when we do go out to Portugal, the idea is that we will obviously be very, very frugal. We've got a tiny house. It's not going to be. We're trying to work it out how we can manage it very cheaply. So we're not
as few bills as possible.
As few bills, yeah. We don't necessarily want to hook it up to the water if that becomes more, because we've got a piece of land at the end of the day where we can compost and things, So we're thinking of things that honestly a very, very simple way of living.
Yeah.
As simple as we can, I think. To try and keep the prices down. Yeah.
No, Elaine's baking and cooking is so good that maybe you can make like preserves or things like that, because they have lots of little farmers markets over there.
They do, yes. I mean, if that was something that I thought, I know I could do it. I've done it before, so yes, and there's nothing nicer than either growing or foraging and then making something and then putting that out to people, because the quality of most of the things in the shops is not great, but and I don't know, we've sort of discussed it a little bit but not greatly. So
I think when we discussed it before, because we used to make jams and things like that. And,
we used to sell them in the shop.
We used to sell jams in the shop, but then you had the stress of your business.
Yeah.
You were busy enough with your business.
Yeah.
So I came up to you and I said, well, how about we make some jams? And then I said, well, I've got enough on.
Yeah.
You want to give me more work? Yeah, I'm trying to keep you busy, wasn't I? Let's make some jams. But now things have shifted slightly and you haven't got that stress of that maybe, to me anyway, we love farmers markets, don't we?
Absolutely, yes.
And I think that made,
well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those sorts of things sound lovely to me. Sounds like a sort of, not so much for the food, because we love the food, but also from the community aspect of it as well. I think getting involved in that local community, sounds nice to me too, and being part of that. Yeah.
No, I think that will be cool. I also like making jams and things. And so when I was in Portugal in December, my orange tree was filled with oranges. So I actually took in the hold luggage a bag full of oranges inside amongst my clothes. And so when I got back to Norway, I actually made marmalade. So
really?
We saw that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oranges.
Very nice. Lovely indeed.
Was it good?
Oh, it was absolutely delicious. I was very, very happy with it. It wasn't sort of like overly sweet, but it wasn't bitter. It was actually just it came out really, really, really well. I was very pleased about that. So would you say that this whole Brexit thing has affected your plans at all? Or is that a bad question?
I think mentally it has to me. And we have Max as well, our dog. I think that's probably the biggest hurdle, really. Well, that's not a hurdle. They're all just extra things we have to sign. I mean, extra things we have to think about. So
I think because we felt as though we'd just figured out how you go from the UK through Europe and into Portugal, and how you do it properly, like with Max, and getting him checked on the way back so he gets tapewormed, and even from our perspective, you know, just what you can and you can't do. We'd only just got that figured out, and then everything got flipped on its head. And you have to start again from ground zero, and you have to like pick through all the little bits. And when it's something that hasn't been done before, and the actual departments and officers that are supposed to be running the situation don't know what they're really doing. So the information, you're picking up little bits of information from here and little bits of information from there. I think we've picked up most of our information from YouTube, from other people who were sort of in our situation, and they've gleaned a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So I don't think Brexit has caused us any undue issues.
No.
It's just like, well, there's a few more hurdles you have to get over before you can get sorted. But I think we actually got a lot of information from Portugal, from the Portuguese side, didn't we? With the what's the office called that deals with the immigration and stuff?
SEF.
Yes, because they've been sort of doing
their website.
The website and the podcasts and stuff. And I think they are making it more easy for the British to get out there than the British government is to help us. What we want to do.
They don't want us to go. Actually, the government.uk website is actually quite good now.
And
it took a while, and it's updated, but it took a little while to get there. So we would go onto the government website and say, oh, this, and one time there were 2 pages that were kind of conflicting. So we left it a few more days. They're going to take that page down because that is no longer relevant. So it got a bit confusing. But I do think it's, you know, just nipping back to our dog, Max, I phoned up what we have to do to take him is we have to get him a European health passport. It's probably not animal health certificate. And you have to do that 10 days before you travel, or up to 10 days before you travel. I phoned the vet the other day because we want to get Max in for just a quick check, and they said there's no appointments for 2 months. So how on earth are we going to get 10 days before we travel if we have to wait 2 months for an appointment? So it's things like that, which I think when we do come up to it, that's going to cause problems, you know, just the new rules and regulations. But hopefully the vets at that stage will be up to speed, because at the minute they seem to be not.
Really, and I think COVID obviously hasn't helped either, because everything's been like on the back burner for lots of businesses and professions. So
I just think everybody's learning at the moment, aren't they?
I know someone sent me a link to an article yesterday which was about UK nationals being deported or what, I don't know. And it just, I think there's a lot of scaremongering and whatever that goes on as well. And as you said, like little bits, you know, people will hear a little bit and this person hears a little bit, and sometimes it's the one conflicts with the other, you know.
It can be a bit difficult, and I think it's just for the government to catch up. As I said, there were 2 pages that contradicted each other. We were trying to find a very specific information. I read it like 3 or 4 times myself, and it didn't quite make any sense. So I read it to Elaine, and Elaine was like, don't really get what they're trying to tell us here. But then you go back in a couple of days' time and they have updated it a bit. And I think the website now is very good. it kind of does guide you through the process of if you do want to go abroad, although they're still not letting us at the moment.
No, it's difficult. It's just so frustrating. And so they've moved the land cleaning date to the 15th of May. So have you got a plan to get your land cleaned, or does it not really need cleaning?
No, we had a thought about this the other day. We haven't got any properties within 50 meters of our land. Our land is in a forest. Basically, it's a forest. There are no houses within a good few hundred yards at least.
Yeah.
So we don't have a few hundred meters. Yeah, we have nothing close to us that enables us. It's always been a forested forested land, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And all the trees that were on our land. It's basically just like a little strip going down a hillside with a flat bit at the top. And before they sold it, the previous people cut all the trees down. They sort of
well, that was good.
Yeah. So that they were just pine trees. So they obviously wanted to glean the little bit of money that was available in the pine trees. So they were all cut down, and we just have stumps.
And so now you don't know how your fruit trees are doing that you planted.
I know. Every time I try and look at like the weather report, and it's like, are they frozen to death? Have they been blown by the wind? Are they all black? We are just some of our neighbours in the village were going to keep an eye on them, and we had a few reports just before Christmas and stuff.
They were saying your trees are doing fine, and then we stopped getting the messages on.
Now you don't know why they stopped.
Exactly. So we're not sure. Well, I don't want to message them and ask.
Well, I'm lucky because I've got bees on the farm now. And the guy that goes and checks up on the bees for me, he checks up on my fruit trees as well, and then sends me videos. So I'm lucky with that. So I feel quite blessed that I can at least get to see the farm. I mean, that's
That's the thing that worries me as well, is not being there and just thinking what's going on. We did get a little message yesterday, actually, from our friends in a different village. That
in the next village.
He was doing a little bit of work up near our land, and he just said everything's okay. And I was like, it's just nice. I mean, it's going to be nothing wrong. We kind of know that but it's just nice to just to get that message to say everything's fine, So that was nice. But because the van that we've got over in Portugal sitting on our land, it will never be driven on the road again. It's just there. It's like a little residence kind of thing. But I don't even think, apart from the people in our village who walk from one village to the next, nobody else even knows that it's there. It's not the kind of, we're out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, we're trying. Yeah.
So it's
it is. It's quite out the way, isn't it?
And we even struggle to spot it from what we call the main road. It's not a main road, but we try and spot it when we're driving from the main road, and we're like, nope, this can't see anything.
Where's the van? Yeah. No, my property is also sort of off the main road, so I'm good. I just want to be there. I don't. It's like everybody says, "Oh, you're so lucky. Norway is beautiful, but it's a different kind of beauty, and it's not my beauty. I want to be on my land, which is
absolutely,
yeah.
So when you saw it, what made you think, yes, that's the piece of land for me, as opposed to any others that you viewed at the time?
Other 25 that I looked at. It was. As I sort of, we drove onto, so the road comes to like the top part. It actually comes into the middle of the property, but you're looking down into this like little valley below, and you see this red roof and the stone cottage, and it's just, and all these rocks, and they're the most stunning rocks. And I just looked at it and I thought, oh my goodness, this has got to be the most beautiful. This is going to be so expensive because it's so beautiful. And it was like, what? This was like the cheapest property that I looked at. I couldn't believe it. And so, and the property had also only just come onto the market. And it came when they told me that it went onto the market, like the end of May, it was actually on my birthday, and I thought, no, this is the universe speaking to me now. And because I mean, it was less than a month later, and the owners were like shocked. They didn't believe they could sell their property within a month. You know, usually it takes sometimes several years.
Yeah.
And since I bought the property, I mean, other people have watched the video, but I had already put the deposit down before I posted the video. And people have contacted the agent wanting to buy that property with the rocks. And the agent was actually saying, like, what I paid 17.5 for it, for 2.5 hectares. I mean, that's not bad. And the house has got its like urban registration, so it's urban land and the agricultural land. And to get that 17,500, it's like, I've been looking and things that aren't even as big as mine, and it's not even as nice, are going for in the 30s now. So I think I went at a...
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah, you did really well.
I think we've noticed the prices seem to have gone up a little bit recently. We've only generally looked on the internet, though. I was thinking about some other options for Portugal as well. Maybe more future down the line, maybe 5 years down the line. I thought I'm just going to have a look to see what properties there are available at the moment. And just as a very general search, it looked as though the land, and I assume house prices as well, have gone up quite a lot since we got our little piece of land.
Yeah, it is. I think it's gone up. I mean, I think those ones that are really very, very abandoned and wild, I think you can probably still get for a good price. But I think being able to just get cheap property, I think it's not as cheap. I think it's still cheap compared to the rest of Europe.
That's right.
Not as cheap as what it was.
Yeah, I mean, our land, well, we were told our land didn't have, it's just under 2 acres. Sorry, it's just over 2 acres, isn't it?
Just over, yeah.
Just over 2 acres. It's on a hill. We were told that there's, well, it was €4,000 is what we paid for it. Total price. And we asked why it was so cheap, and they said, well, because it hasn't got any water. We went back a couple of months later, and there is actually a well in it. It was all hidden amongst all of, there is actually a well. So yeah, but we bought that for €4,000, which is less than we paid for our van. And we were thinking that's somewhere, and again, we weren't worried about water at the time. We were, as I said earlier, we weren't worried about any of that. We just wanted someone to park the van when we were traveling. So yeah, so we thought to try and find something of that value now.
And get it, because
it's never going to happen. No.
I would say that because you bought that 4 years ago for 4,000.
Yeah.
And so that property now would be, without the well that they didn't know they had, would probably be going for like about 12,000.
Yeah.
The prices have gone up, I think.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah, but it's. I think the thing with the difficulty with us, with why I was looking for a different property as well, is that because we bought it for those reasons, and now we're thinking of more permanent residency out there, it doesn't tick every single box for us. It ticks 9 out of 10, in all honesty. But there's the water's still a bit of a thing on my mind. Elaine's happy with it. We're quite okay, but little things kind of come to mind, and I think, oh well, it would be nice if we could have, this or that. I mean, the last time we went, there wasn't any water in the well, so who knows?
Some plastic bottles.
Yeah, but so yes, so for more permanent, I mean, what we've got is lovely. I've got to be honest, what we've got is lovely, and we can make it work for us. But I'm always looking for something else as well, aren't I?
Yeah.
Non-stop.
You know what? With your handyman skills, you could probably hire yourself out.
Oh, goodness me.
I will do that. I will hire him out.
Fair enough.
That would be good. I tell you, I sort of like think, oh my goodness, it's like, I don't know if I can do you know, all these things, but you know, I watch YouTube videos and it looks easy when you watch it on YouTube. And I'm thinking, yeah, I can build I built a toilet. I can build a shed. You know,
you can absolutely. We watched you doing the toilet build, and we thought to ourselves, I commented on your video, you've done a fantastic job. It was just the fella in the shop that hadn't cut the wood for you straight.
Yeah.
It wasn't you at all.
Yeah. Well, on Sunday, I'll be having the final one, and the big reveal of the toilet will be on Sunday. And then this video I'll post next week, Wednesday, probably.
Right. Okay. Lovely.
Because when you had put that video out that week, we had been to B&Q, our local DIY place, and we had some wood cut for Jade's van. And the difference was our guy had this huge wall saw, and he just popped it on, and it measured it that way, and it measured it that way, and then he turned it on, and it went, and then he just handed us these square, perfect, beautiful edge pieces. And then we watched your video, and there was the guy with his hands on, and it's wonky.
Exactly. Exactly.
I made it work, and it is so soft, but it is so heavy. I don't know how we're going to move it, but anyway, that's going to be the challenge. So what tips would you give to anybody watching who want to do what you've done?
Initially, I would say think very seriously about how you really want to live, because it can be, Darren's very much the romantic. He gets a vision in his head, and it's got the roses round the door, and it's everything the way that you would want it to be, but then when you actually think about it,
and the ants are crawling into your sleeping bag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true.
And it's 40-degree heat, and you can't get out of the heat because you haven't had 6 months beforehand to get something organized and set up. So that was the problem. We were so desperate during COVID last year to get out there that we actually went out in August and just landed in Portugal in the middle of August in 40-degree heat. And as beautiful as the place is, and as lovely as the people are, if you're not set up to deal with the heat,
which we weren't,
because the house isn't ready, and the land isn't ready, so
there's no shelter.
It's not pleasant.
No.
So, and then equally, I guess if you go out in the winter, they've had the wettest winter for many years. So would we have been ready had we been there in the winter as well, for day after day after day after day of rain, because the house isn't ready? So I think, and I would also say, think about the standard of living that you want as well. So for us, our little house, we're talking about keeping it as simple as possible. Because we've never really been the ones for, how do you put it, having the best of everything.
The bells and the whistles.
We've always lived on a budget. We've always had to watch what we do with our money. So I think we actually appreciate the value of money. So for us to say we want to live a simple life is completely different to somebody else saying they want to live a simple life. We've grown veggies before, but we've never had to feed ourselves from them. We've done DIY, and we're happy to live with it. We're sitting in our kitchen now, and we've built sort of the
it's not
the kitchen area, and it's not absolutely perfect, but to us, we're really happy with it, and it looks good and it works, and it's still standing 6 months on.
Well, I think that's the thing, because a lot of people that commented on our video, on our video about our house.
Yeah, about the little house.
About the little house. It's a tiny little house. It's about the size of our kitchen here. And this house, no, it's a little bit bigger.
It's bigger.
Anyway, but anyway, the people that commented had like these grand ideas for it. Oh, you could do this, you could put a mezzanine up, and you could do this, and
put a pool on the side, and
like, no,
it's a little one-bedroom house.
Yeah,
in a terraced house.
People have come to me and told me about doing a mezzanine and doing what the indie projects have done, and I think what the indie projects have done is fantastic. But I'm one person, and there's no ways. You know, like when you get old, you've got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I'm not climbing up and down ladders, whatever, in the middle of the night. And
exactly. It is true. So, I think that's a kind of thing. We are trying to do this as cost effectively as possible, so that we can still then afford to travel, because we do want to do a bit of traveling, because we've honestly, as I said at the beginning, we haven't been very many places. And the whole idea of this originally was to buy a place to put the van on so that we could travel. So it's kind of going back to our original idea and having Portugal as our base 6 months, 9 months of the year. So we will live there permanently 6 or 9 months of the year, but the other 3 or 4 months will ideally do a bit of
traveling somewhere
in Europe, maybe a bit further.
Maybe it's like in the peak of the summer when it's too hot to be in central Portugal. Perhaps we'll go, southern Spain or into Germany or wherever, just something different. Just that was and still is our hope.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, I'm lucky in this respect. I've done like a lot of traveling. I mean, I've lived in different countries with my children, and they've all left the nest now. So now I just want to stay in one place and just, I want to create a legacy for my children. So I want to create a farm so that I can't leave them cash, but I can maybe leave them something that I've created that they will have, that they can visit with their children. That's my goal.
That's perfect. We were talking a little bit about that earlier. Very similar thing a couple of weeks ago. You know how I said I was looking at other properties for exactly those types of reasons, really, to try and make it more simple for our children to come over and visit us, because we got a piece of land and a tiny house, and I was saying to Elaine, how are we going to fit a family, our extended family onto a piece of...
If they all came at the same time.
They don't want to sit on a piece of land in a van necessarily. So I was kind of thinking, is there some way that we can, encourage them to maybe come over a bit more, because we will be permanent out there at some point. For me, I was just thinking, just going back to your question of any advice, I would just say, think about like what we thought about. We had that mortgage that we would have been in for another 4 years. Were the finances worth it? And that just enabled us to retire. And we call ourselves pensioners, but really, I don't honestly see ourselves.
You guys, it's like, look at me, look at the great.
It was a bit tongue-in-cheek, the pensioners in Portugal,
because literally I do receive a pension, and it's a work-based pension. But still, we're 55. We've got 13 years before we get our state pension.
Before we get our state.
So pension. We have got a bit of time before then. So
so that's what I was.
We just wanted.
It enabled us to do it maybe 5+ years earlier, didn't it?
Yeah,
just to having that
before. We couldn't do it.
Well, that's what I was thinking as well. I'm much older than you. I turn 60 next month, and it's just like I want to be able to do this while I still can.
That's right.
I'm going to wait until I'm 65, and then my walker gets stuck in the mud.
That's right. That was exactly it. And we just sat down. I was out walking with Max one evening, and I just came home and I said to Elaine, I've just been doing some maths in my head, because when you're out walking with your dog, your mind just... And I just said, this is what we owe on the mortgage. If we sold the house now, we would be mortgage free. We could even we had a few other little debts as well. We could get rid of those. What do you think of that?
Life simpler.
And it just made life a lot simpler. And then the ideas of Portugal kind of slowly got themselves into the mix as well.
Because I think modern life, you're so easy to get wound up in that. You have to have the next thing. You have to have the next thing. We haven't really bought into that kind of lifestyle, but we have both worked. Darren's worked since he was 16 when he left school. I've worked since I left university, and it's just,
you get stuck in it,
don't you? You get stuck. Like when I worked for British Telecom, that was like a gilded cage. You're so used to the good money coming in, but then you haven't got any energy or time to actually live a life that's worth living. So we are very happy to have less money coming in, live more frugally, but actually have time to live.
Quality of life.
Absolutely.
So that's the decision that we made
last year. As you can see, I'm actually sitting in my classroom over here. It's like I've been teaching 36 years now. I'm ready. I'm ready. I've done my time. I've children I have taught to almost grandmothers themselves. Okay, well, thank you so very, very much for giving up your time to chat to me, and we'll definitely keep in touch. And when you are there in central Portugal, I think you're probably not that far. I'm in the Orca area. I'm not too sure whereabouts you are, but
we're in the Castelo Branco area. I think on your video where you did the drive through your village, I think you mentioned the town that you lived in. Right, or at least the region. I can't quite remember now, but you mentioned, and I checked it out, with roughly where you were. And I think you were about an hour's drive from us. From memory, we were the other side of the Castelo Branco town to you. So about an hour.
When you plan to drive from Norway down to Portugal, or from the UK to Portugal, is an hour.
Right. From where to where, Cindy?
In comparison to
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. No, it takes us 3 days to drive from where we are here down to where I land in Portugal. 3 days.
I'm going to try and do mine in 2 days, but I don't know if I'm going to.
No, you're absolutely right. It's only an hour.
3,000 Ks from here.
We're 3,500. Was that miles? I'm confused now.
No, I think it was 1,600.
3,000 both ways, wasn't it? There
miles.
Yeah, that's right. About 1,600 miles. And 3 days. It takes us 12-hour trips, so 12 hours in one day.
Both of us driving, and if you're doing all of that on your own, that's amazing.
It's the goal. I don't know. I did drive, but that took me 9 days though. But we drove from, when my youngest daughter was 15 at the time, we drove from Kilimanjaro down to Cape Town, and that was 9 days. But we did, you do have to stop and wait for the lions to cross the road. And
wow.
It's worth it.
It's worth letting them cross, isn't it? Yeah.
Definitely. So thank you very, very much again.
You're welcome.
Keep safe, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Cindy.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Cindy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.